In a world where athletes train their bodies relentlessly, Eaglemoon helps them train something just as important, and I believe very important, the mind and an emotional system behind it. Whether you're an aspiring athlete, a parent supporting a young competitor, or just a professional looking for an edge, this conversation will open your eyes to the tools that transform performance from the inside out. Eaglemoon, welcome to the program. I've known you for a while now. We talk all the time, and it's a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're going to talk about a few things that we've already spoken about. And one of them is your interesting background, how you got into what you're doing now and your evolution through it. And so where did you come from? How did you progress?
Well, it's an interesting question because I think when women have children, your world totally changes. So I had a 2-year-old, I had a 3-year-old, and I wanted to be the best mom I could be. And in that process, I got a magazine in the mail, which normally I would have just thrown away, because, you know, when you have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, you don't have time for junk mail. So, but I opened it up. I was curious. There was something in it that just caught my attention. And I read about somebody that transformed their relationship with their mother in the week-long training. And I was like, what? How is this? Like, what? I was completely shocked, but that was something that really touched my heart. I believe that in order to be the mom that you want to be, you have to rectify your relationship with your own mother. And so I looked in the back of the magazine, and there were 2 local avatar masters in my area. So I called them, and one invited me immediately to come learn more, which was moving a little bit too fast for me. The other one was closer to where I live, and I struck up a relationship with her. And there was something about this course I could not let go of. There was, um, like when you know something is right for you, you feel it in your gut, you feel it in every part of your being. That's how this avatar course was for me. I knew it was going to be life-changing. And I, however, had a lot of limitations. I was a at-home mom. I didn't have my own money. I had a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. The course was lengthy. And it took me 9 months to go from when that magazine came in to my house to when I was actually in the course. Now, that was over 30 years ago. And since Avatar is now taught internationally, well, it was taught internationally before, but there are large international classes going on. And so right now, the way the Avatar course is presented is a lot different than the training I did. I did one-on-one in somebody's living room. Now, when you do the Avatar course, you have the option of doing it on Zoom in, I think it's like 10 or 11 days when you do it on Zoom. Or in July, since COVID, we haven't been teaching a lot of courses in person. Last year was the first in-person Avatar course, and then we're doing it again this July. So if people want to have the international experience of the Avatar course, then they have the option of going to Orlando in July to do it.
Did all this, you started in England, you said?
No, I started hypnosis in England. I
I
did
see.
Avatar in Coventry, Connecticut.
I see.
So it was
Okay.
local. And, um, it's not really taught that way now. Um, when I did it, like Avatar was brought into the public arena in 1986. And so it's relatively new when you consider it being such a powerful modality that gives people freedom to live their lives the way they want to and to explore consciousness. And where hypnosis has been around for 6,000 years. Back in Egypt, they called them sleep temples where you would go and you would do hypnosis.
Mhm.
So, as far as exploring consciousness with this technology of the Avatar course, it's relatively new, but it's based on a lot of different um, like lots of different research. Harry Palmer, the author of the Avatar materials, he was an educator, he was an engineer. He studied consciousness and different philosophies, different religions. And then he put himself in a sensory deprivation tank for 6 weeks. And then he basically started to explore consciousness without the input of your senses. And then he was able to really see and understand and study consciousness from that perspective. And as a result, he learned the path to bring people on that journey without soaking in a sensory deprivation tank for 6 weeks. I can't hear you.
To
Oh,
how does this relate to EFT? There was a progression to EFT also, right?
right. So once I did the Avatar course and I was raising my family, I knew I wanted to teach Avatar. So I became a licensed Avatar master. And in that process, as my son started to grow, he was a really amazing baseball player. He played football. I started to get involved with athletes. And I started exploring EFT. Now, again, EFT is relatively new. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's also known as tapping. And so Gary Craig is the original founder of EFT. And then Nick Ortner, he created the tapping solution. And so they're the similar techniques where you do tapping on the endpoints of your meridians. But they're two different approaches. So when I learned EFT, Gary Craig had a series of videos, and the copyright of the videos that he made, he had ones on sports, he had ones on relationships, he had EFT CDs on health, he had it on, there were 10 different CDs. And the copyright, when you bought the CDs, was you could make up to 99 copies of them for free. You could give them out because he really wanted people to use EFT to better their lives. Gary Craig also was a baseball player, and he he has another website. It's called Palace of Possibilities. And he was explaining that when he was playing baseball, he was able to visualize where he wanted the ball to go, and then he would hit the ball and the ball would go where he wanted it to go. So,
Heard that from athletes that I've worked with or seen at the University of Massachusetts. They've said basically the same thing. They visualize where they need to be and where they want the puck or the ball or whatever to go.
right.
Interesting.
Well, so we're going to circle back to that with
Mm-hmm.
regard to Avatar, because I could go a little bit more in depthly on how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyhow, I got really interested in EFT. And so the way EFT works is you're tapping on the endpoints of your meridian. So you start here at your eyebrows and you go to the side of the eye, under the nose, the chin point, the collarbone point, under your arm. And there's a very sensitive spot under your arm. It's not like under your arm. It's for women, it's where your bra strap crosses. It's tender there. And then you know you're on the right spot. And then the top of the head. Now, the reason this works is so when it comes to energy medicine, you could have a block anywhere in your meridian system, and it will interfere with your ability to see life. And so Gary Craig explains that when you have a block in your body, anywhere in the meridian system, it's like you're seeing static on your TV screen. You and I are pretty much the same age. So back when they had TV bulbs in the back of a TV, if you put a screwdriver in there, you would go, "Ah," and it would be like fuzzy and you'd hear the, staticky sound. Well, similarly, if that's how you process life. Like fear could overcome you and you don't see opportunities, or you make an error in a game and you can't let go of that error to be in the next inning. So what EFT does is if you imagine the meridians like a jump rope, and you have the two handles and you extend them and you wiggle the end of the jump rope, what happens to the jump rope?
Yeah, so it moves a little bit.
So eventually the wave will go to the other handle, right?
True,
Yeah.
true.
So when you tap on the end point, You could have a block anywhere on that meridian down to your toes.
Mm.
And when you tap, it's sending a vibration through that meridian that dislodges the block. It starts to work the block through. And um, so when you're tapping on the endpoints, there's a setup phrase that you say. It's like, say, I make an error in a game. Okay. I would tap on the karate chop point and I would say, even though I made an error, I'm okay. Even though I made an error in this game and I let my team down, I'm a good kid. Even though I made a mistake and I'm having trouble letting go of it, I'm a good kid. And then you would just, this is the simplest form. You would go to the eyebrow point and you'd say, this error. But you know what? So let me step back a little bit. You would feel how you're feeling. So if you're really mad at yourself, you might feel like you're at a 10. So you want to rate how you're feeling from 0, no big deal, to 10, intense feeling. Okay. So let's say this kid's at a 10. He's really upset with himself. So then you would tap, even though like I made this terrible mistake, this error. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. This error. So you go into your chin point now, collarbone point, this error, under the arm, this error, and then the top of the head. That's known as 1 round. So now you would check in and you'd say, oh, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm at a 5. So you went from a 10 to a 5. So now you're diffusing the emotion. So now you might do another round so that you can go down to a 0. And then you would just say, okay, so I'm going to keep tapping. And now you might have an idea that you're really being hard on yourself. So you might say, I'm really hard on myself. 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 I don't need to be so hard on myself. I'm really hard on myself. I'm really hard on myself. And then you would check in again. And I'd be like, oh, I'm at a 1. And then I could decide 1, I feel good, and then continue. So you could do EFT for stresses. You could use EFT for injuries. You could use EFT for all kinds of things. In Asia, they're more familiar with energy medicine than we are in the United States or in Europe. EFT has caught on really quickly over the past 25 years or so. There are Jesus Reyes. He was in the I think it's the Oregon State University. They were in the World Championship, and there's videos of him doing EFT in the dugout. I worked with AJ Pollock, who's on the LA Dodgers team. He used to live near me, and so I worked with him when he was in high school going into college at Notre Dame. And he was very interested in EFT and hypnosis and various mental skills training. And he was the one that originally told me. He was on the Cape Cod League with Jesus. And, Jesus is doing it, publicly, where he's tapping on his body. I had explained to AJ that you could use a bat and imagine the tapping points in the dirt and tap with the bat if you didn't want to be seen tapping. Now, that was a long time ago. More people are familiar with EFT now.